So, a welcome to Amazing Food and Drink. Today, we are with Darius Darwell of Sipful Drinks. He's the founder and CEO. A big welcome to Amazing Food and Drink, Darius.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So, Darius, tell us a wee bit about yourself and your background.
So I grew up in Dumfries and Galloway, southwest Scotland, where I grew up on an organic biodynamic farm. My parents were very alternative folk and quite forward thinking, I suppose, for their day back in the 80s. So that's kind of where a kind of sustainability has always been kind of driven into me. Way before it was kind of greenwashing and buzzwords. It was kind of part of kind of my growing up. Then, as a lot of youngsters do, kind of drifted into hospitality in kind of low kind of dishwashing or that kind of angle. And then I kind of increased and started working by the bars. And then I started loving the drinks and everything about the fast-paced social aspects of a bar. And then that kind of led me to, I actually ended up in Australia working in bars there, and I wasn't drinking beer anymore because I didn't like it. I was drinking all this kind of naff commercial kind of crap. So then I came across a friend, and she said she just started working at a brewery called Little Creatures, and there was jobs going. So I grabbed a job there, and then my mind was blown to the craft beer world and all the different varieties of beer that were out there. I just had never come across them and never even thought. So that was me hooked on beer. Spent the last 10 years working in the beer industry, starting as a cask washer and then helping with 2 startups in the last kind of 5 years, which has been a massive learning experience. So now I've drifted off and doing my own thing with my wife, doing Sipful Drinks. So a little bit of a change, but very much kind of in the production and the drinks world. So
absolutely brilliant. I can't wait to hear that about Sipful in a second. But it's interesting that your parents, were really alternative for the 80s. I mean, this is only becoming sort of commonplace nowadays in the last 4 or 5 years, maybe. How did they get in that? I'm interested to hear that.
So they both looked after people with learning difficulties, and they volunteered for a charity. And basically, they went both to this place in Wales, and they had a farm there. The people lived and worked on the farm. Some people made cheese, some people made bread, but with various different levels of skill. And I think that's where it kind of hooked for my dad, and that he really enjoyed that kind of thing. So when I came along, they moved to Scotland, and then it was a very new kind of place that they moved into, similar ethos, and they've just kind of been building that. And now we've got their own farm shop, cheese, bread, and etc. So it's a nice wee spot.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So tell us about Sipful Drinks.
So Cephal is basically was born out of frustration of my good lady. She was loving the craft beer, absolutely loved it. And then we go to a lot of music festivals in the summer. We do a lot of kind of getting into the hills. We live at the moment in the Yorkshire Dales, so got the Lake District right there as well. So a lot of camping, getting out into the mountains, and it's always nice to take a couple of beers with you. But you a bottle of beer, do you? Because it will. Plus, cans are much better. But then when she kind of beer didn't really agree with her anymore, so we started looking around for alternatives that weren't either beer or weren't cider, and it was pretty minimal. Everything's very super sweet, synthetic, just really quite crass and naff. So that's kind of where it was born. And Emily, my wife, lived in California, and where mimosa Sundays were a big thing, and mimosas were a big part of their kind of their drinking culture out there. So that was quite a natural place to start. And I'd also I've been part of the beer industry while they kind of converted to cans, and I was a massive advocate for cans. I'd seen, because I'd done some research into their stats, but also because you kind of see the benefits on volume and also quality control. It's really sealed in there, the UV light, etc. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that kind of, and then the wine, and then I looked a little bit further into the wine game and canned wine. And although it's not a big thing in the UK, In the US, it's been absolutely phenomenal in the last 5 years. They've seen year on year, round about 50% increase year on year of canned wine market. Is now worth, or last year up to the month of August, is worth about $80 million in the US.
Unbelievable. I actually had never heard of canned wine until, I did a wee bit of research in your company.
It's brilliant. I mean, I could bang on about it for days on end, but
please do.
Yeah, so it's so basically, I think that the older generation are very kind of set in their ways, and especially in the kind of in the wine market, and there's maybe sometimes a bit of a snootiness around it.
Yeah, I was going to say a touch of snobbery, maybe. Yeah. Yes,
exactly. Whereas the generations coming in now are very kind of a little bit more woke, a little bit like they understand their consumer. When the consuming has got an effect, and they're thinking about how they're doing that. But they're also a lot more kind of open about different trends and different ways of doing things. So I think that's been a big part of the rise. Also, that kind of correlation with the cans in craft beer is much more accepting. I was having these arguments in the craft beer industry when we started going from bottles to cans, and people were going, "Oh, does it not taste metallic? Is it?" So I'm enjoying all these arguments, and plus, many times is we are basically where the screw cap was in the 90s. So yeah, I know maybe just to kind of rattle off a few of the kind of the savings on cans versus glass. So I mean, one example is if I was to package 1,000 liters of wine into bottles. And then I was to do the same into cans, I'd be saving 796 kilograms roughly of weight, and that's taking CO2 off the road. That's a massive saving. And I mean, even when I was in the beer industry, we used to send beer away for packaging. We used to send 1,000 liters away, and the beer would come back in bottles, and it would come back in 2.5 pallets. We'd send 1,000 liters for canning. It would come back on one massive pallet. So you've got the neck, you've got the weight of the bottle, all of that is massive saving on CO2, on space, logistics, etc. So, and another thing is the recyclability on cans. They're much more recyclable than glass. And as a kind of illustration, I suppose, is if you save a ton of glass, if you recycle a ton of glass, you save 42 kilowatts of energy, and that's equivalent to 4.5 UK homes running for a day. Whereas the same amount for aluminium is 14,000 kilowatts, which is the same to power 1,500 odd houses a day. So
unbelievable. So a significant saving on your carbon footprint, if you like.
Absolutely, yeah.
Governments are going to love you.
Well, we've got a lot of things we're working with, and a lot of people we're working with to really make. Like I've got a massive personal fear of greenwashing, so I'm very careful. We're not marketing ourselves as fully sustainable or what we're doing right now, because we want to make sure that all our bases are covered and we are actually doing what we said we were going to do.
Yeah.
So we're working with Every Can Counts, which is a charity, which is a not-for-profit, which is basically pioneering recycling. So we're trying to get to 100% recycling. In the UK, we've just managed to get 76%. But the Germany and some Scandinavian countries, they're way up into the high 90s. So there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
So we're dead excited about it. And we also we're working with potential technologies which can actually trace waste right from its source all the way to its final endpoint, and then potentially giving credits back to that consumer.
And tell me, how have you found customers or potential customers being accepting of the wine in the can or the cocktails in the can?
Yeah, I think there's some people who aren't maybe necessarily as open to new things, and there's generally like a quite a pushback. But then when you kind of rattle off some stats and you tell them that like their negative perception of that comes from a day when the lacquers inside cans weren't very good. And maybe there was a metallic taint 20 years ago in a can, but now they're so advanced. And then it's one sealed unit with glass. You've got, especially with corks, you've got all that risk as well. So, yeah, I think people soon come round. But I think people who are looking always to different ways of consuming and looking to different styles, then they're quite adaptive and quite open.
Yeah, well, I have to admit to having a couple of wee cans of like gin and tonic made up and a cocktail made up. So I would certainly try the wine. Absolutely no problem whatsoever.
Well, I mean, I think we are also I think it's kind of fortunate in the same sense, but there's a huge, massive move at the moment for RTDs and ready to drink, and also the can format. So I think we are very much in the right place at the right time, but we're also doing it for very kind of very personal reasons as well. It's not just kind of jumping on a bandwagon. It's
you're invested in it.
Yeah, it was evolved with us as well, like through the beer and now into the. So yeah, no, we're excited.
So what has it been like creating a business during a pandemic? Tell me that.
Well, in January I gave up my full-time employment. My wife was on maternity and she was just about to pop. So in January we had our first kid. There was no income coming in, and we thought we were being extremely brave, starting a business. And then March happened. So yeah, it was interesting, and I think we were supposed to. We had a few music festivals lined up, and that was kind of going to be our little intro into the scene. So, and I mean that's also another thing for the can. Just to track back again, is there's a music festivals, big events where you can't usually get glass in the can, especially canned wine, because that wine drinker is going to be limited to what they can bring in. So
yeah, that's good. It's actually a good idea.
Yeah, so I think a pandemic. So when we first launched, which was the 1st of May, we were like deep in pandemic time, and people were just getting settled in and realizing kind of what they had to do. So internet orders for the first kind of month, 6 weeks were absolutely phenomenal. So we started with a web shop, and it was great. And then kind of it started like pittering off, and things started opening up again. So then we kind of had to work out what we were doing again. So really enough, we are quite small and new, and we can kind of move with the times and try and navigate, but we didn't really have our routes to market for the on-trades established yet. Plus wholesalers and bars and things, they weren't really talking to anybody at that point. So it was a little bit of a kind of frustration, and you also can't just kind of go into places like you could in the past and just walk and say, can I speak to someone, or phone them up and have a nice little meeting where you can really kind of. So it has been odd. And then, I mean, we've got our route to market is very. We want to grow quite. In order to be able to sell our product at a proper price, which is nice and accessible, because we realise we are trying to get people to buy into something that they might not be that acceptant about yet. So we need to have a price point where we're not discouraging people, but we're also using organic wine. So we're really hoping that provides the customer with the authenticity that we've got. We got a quality product, but we also care about it. So we need to get that volume up in order to be able to justify those prices that we're asking. So we're working with wholesalers and retail. So we're very much working to next year, setting up in the beginning of next year, trying to get the line ourselves up for next summer.
Brilliant. In terms of capacity, have you got the capacity to expand rapidly if it needs be, or?
Well, this has been a massive issue, and it's probably been one of my biggest concerns, because we're also organic. So contract packages aren't all set up for that. Contract packages aren't all set up for mixing. So mixing alcoholic products. In order to do the volume and keep the cost down, we need to get things in duty and suspension. So we haven't got places to be set up for that. So with all those kind of concerns, we've actually decided to do our own production facility, which is, but we're going to do for contracting as well. So this is going to be a separate business that we're currently putting out for investment. So it's going to be a contracting business, but then also contracting for Sipful Drinks as well. And it's so that we can have control of our recipes. We can also then really to really focus on canned wine as well. No one in the UK at the moment, contracting wise, is focusing on wine. We can offer bonded services, and we can then also really tweak the processing in order to be able to really make sure that there's quality inside those cans, and that people aren't putting out canned wine who are then going to market and then getting a bad rep for the cans themselves. So hopefully, as a bunch of brands can come together and really make a very good point for canned wine.
Brilliant. So, what you imagine some of the challenges there that you face. What other challenges did you face when you started the business, even from the idea in you and Emily's head?
Well, actually, to start off with, we had a completely different name. We were called Batch, but then in my naivety, we got caught up in an IP dispute. That was I checked the internet for other companies out there, etc. And I thought with Batch with 2 T's, I was safe in my own little area. Right. But I think these are just some of these things. I think I saw like entrepreneurs think. The route to success is a nice, clean, straight line, but it's certainly not. And a lot of things that, like, I thought after 10 years in the beer industry that I'd also know a lot of the kind of pitfalls, having been part of 2 startups, I would be also a little bit more experienced. But you make your own mistakes as you kind of go along. I've also, through all that, I think it's very important that we create a good team, and I think we're really building that now. And we've got a phenomenal kind of good set of humans who are behind Sipful now, and it's a pleasure.
So how did you come up with a new name then?
With a lot of hard work. It was not fun, and the pressure cooker was on for time, and we had the products ready to get packaged. But we still didn't have a name, and then also this name had to go right through the IP lawyer process. So it had to be like bulletproof, but with every kind of So I had to go through the process basically. So we took a gamble and we went for the name, and then we started the branding. We got all the labels made up. The product was pretty much there, and then COVID happened. And the IP office went and shut down. So then, like another 3 months of waiting to find out whether our name was actually legal or not.
Oh, you've gone through the mill.
I mean, I suppose it's all self-inflicted in some way, but I think.
So tell me, is Emily going to be working alongside you?
Definitely. As the company progresses, I don't think she's. She's been a professional nanny working she's a Norland nanny. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
No.
It's where the rich and famous and the Queen basically gets a Norland nanny.
Okay.
And she kind of worked around those kind of circles. So she's really kind of bossed her career, and now she's just really looking forward to being a mum. She's bossing that at the moment, but then as kind of things open up, I think, and we start going to trade shows and starting getting out there, I think she'll be much more involved again. Like,
yeah, and then she'll start bossing you.
Oh, she certainly will. No doubt.
Brilliant. So tell me, you use organic wine, you touched on that, and you also use natural fruit flavours and I think reduced sugar, isn't that right?
Yes, yes.
Tell us about that, and tell us how society are going to sort of look upon that and engage with it. Yeah,
well, I think for starters, it goes back to my roots of organic when I was growing up on the farm. I think also my holistic kind of beer side, being a craft brewer for a lot of years, a lot of beers, fruity beers now are using extracts, etc., synthetic based a lot of the time. Whereas I was always quite proud to kind of use fruit concentrates. I thought you got more depth, complexity of flavour, more dimensional by going down that route. But it also creates so many headaches, and I see why people just put flavours and extracts into their product, because it means you can make it in about 2 seconds and you don't need to worry again. So you got stability issues, you got potential contamination issues. So basically, if you get any bacteria in there, everything's
becomes moldy or whatever.
Well, your can start exploding potentially.
Oh God!
So yeah. like I create a lot of my own problems, but it's also coming from a very kind of genuine place of like the drink's got to be right, and it's got to. And I mean, I think the whole before sustainability comes into it, before recyclability or waste reduction, what we start off with is drinkability. It has to be drinkable. And when we're out there researching at the beginning, trying to find a product that actually tasted good, we found we could only have one or two of these cans max, because they're either really sweet, made your teeth very
sickly, yeah,
or just tasted as if you were like or like a refresher bar, or there's kind of, it's like it's supposed to smell like rhubarb, but what it tastes like you don't know. But it's
completely synthetic.
Exactly. So all the majority, 95% of the products were like that. And we did blind tastings with kind of big demographics of people, and took all the flavor notes from that. And it basically, that's what it kind of came down to, is like everything's too sweet, too synthetic, and tastes very unnatural. So we want to kind of take it back, and as if that cocktail was just being poured for you at the bar. And that's really kind of our angle. And we've got loads of products that we want to join our range as well, alcoholic and non-alcoholic as well. So
can't wait! I can't wait to taste them. There's going to be a batch wing gets way to Belfast very soon.
Well, actually, Belfast is taking our first export pallet. So not export, but first wholesale pallet. So
brilliant. Where are you selling?
Working with CB Drinks and Anzac as well. So yeah,
brilliant. And so they'll be hitting our shelves very soon then.
Absolutely, yeah. You guys it's gonna be out blanketing Northern Ireland before anywhere else in the UK, really. So it's
actually ironic, because quite a few of product launches happen in and around Belfast, and it's something to do with the demographics. So there you go. Yeah. So you're ahead of the game here, Darius.
I totally knew that.
Super. So tell me, do you think we as a society are ready for health conscious alcoholic drinks, or where do you see the movement and the direction of where we're going as a society and consumers?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think there's massive market realization that is the case. And I think one kind of one product that's coming out is a hard seltzer at the moment, which is basically carbonated water, alcohol, and a flavoring. Now, the amount of new products that are coming out in the hard seltzer, I think it's quite scary. In terms of I think there are people who are conscious about calories, but I don't think there's that many people that are conscious about calories. And there's only so much difference you can make with those three ingredients. There's only so much difference you can make with black cherry flavoring. And so I think there's going to be a certain kind of stop off. And also, because they're so easy to make, everyone's making them. And I think there's a bit that everyone who's maybe an international drinks company, they're making them. So it's going to be quite hard to kind of really kind of command a decent share in that market. So I think we're quite lucky in the sense that we have got a little area where we can dance in at the moment on our own in the kind of wine-based cocktail side of things, because there are a few people coming in on the kind of more zero, all natural ingredients, kind of more classic style cocktails, which I fully encourage. And the same with the beer industry. I talk about the beer industry a lot, but it's my exact correlation to kind of a kind of rising market. And people used to kind of go, "Oh, what do you think of BrewDog?" Blah blah blah, trying to maybe dig up a bit of dirt or something.
Yeah,
your competitors or. But I mean, what they did for the beer industry is absolutely phenomenal, and they really just kind of they broke the wave for so many people to kind of really get into the market. They were
they launched craft beers, really, didn't they?
They did, and they how many people say BrewDog was their first breakthrough beer, and then that kind of opens a whole world up, like Little Creatures did for me. Like so, it's.
So you're hoping Sipful's going to do the same for this market?
That would be nice, wouldn't it? If it did,
it would be lovely.
Yeah, it would. If it did have a canned wine, I'd be absolutely over the moon. But I think there is some great companies out there at the moment bringing canned wine to the mass market as well. So I think we are we are in a great time for it. Last year, I think 65, if not more, % of the canned wine market in the UK was taken up by one company between two brands. But this year, there's going to be a few more. So it's going to become more accepted. And in 10 years, they predict that 10% of the wine market is actually going to be canned. And they reckon that, I can't remember the stats, but it's... they reckon that 40% of the canned wine sales globally are going to be in Europe as well. So we're very...
All great news for you.
I know. I read that. I was like, okay. Yeah. So, but I think also like what I'm struggling with at the moment is we're at a certain standing where you've got opportunity and there's a massive chasm of finance you have to kind of build to get from current standing to opportunity, and that's what we're kind of trying to build a bridge across at the moment. So I think there's a lot of companies out there who have got a lot deeper pockets in order to kind of really push that hard. But we're in their flanks, hopefully, and we'll all kind of make it kind of grow the category together, really, I hope. Darius,
this is your opportunity to pitch. This is going to be going.
If you want to be part of the future, come with Sipful.
Tell me genuinely, because this is one of the questions I'll come to later. Where can we reach you? Where can our viewers reach you? Where can potential investors reach you?
The website's a great place to start. If you want to get me direct, it's Darius instead of hello at sipful-drinks.com. But if you want to try the products before you want to come and chat to me too much, then that's the best place to start. Because I mean, I'm kind of digressing here a little bit, but that's if you try the drinks, that's the best place to start because they're absolutely fantastic, and that's one thing I am not frightened about in this whole journey. And I think they're absolutely cracking, and the reaction from the market has been overwhelming as well. So I say get on the website, get some drinks, and then give me a call if you like them.
Superb. But I've just written a wee note there because wine is a very traditional thing, and even the move away from a cork to a screw top took a long time for people to accept. I don't think it'll be as big a step for people to go from the screw top to the tin or the can. I really don't, especially with the younger generation coming up and being prepared to try new things. Have you found that?
I think the proof's in the American market, and the American market's about 5 years in now, 5-6 years. And last year there was cans of wine selling for $20 to $30, a 330ml can. And I mean, people are putting like biodynamic wines, they're putting organic wines, single origin, grape, vineyards. It's like people are getting super excited. And the thing is as well, if I've gone and spent 80, 90 pounds on a bottle of wine because it's a super good bottle of wine, I'm saving it. I've got to invite all my pals to drink it because it's a big old bottle of wine, and I don't want to. I'm either going to get sloshed on some real quality wine. If you've got some really high quality wine and you just want to have a wee selfish treat yourself, you can get a can, and you can also then sit down at a table. Imagine you go to dinner and it's just you and the missus, and you're having maybe a starter which you want to pair something different with, and you want to then have a main course where you pair something different, and then you want to have nice sweet dessert wine at the end. Well, you can do that with cans because you could just have a can for every course, whereas if you're opening a bottle of wine, you're kind of stuck with the same bottle of wine for the whole meal.
You have to bring one bottle for every course.
Exactly. Oh, well, you could do that as
well. Brilliant. Yeah. Well, I have to say, you're doing a great job of selling this. Honestly, it sounds superb. Tell me this, what has been your best, if you like, marketing strategy to date? What are you most proud of?
Still working on that, I think. To be honest, like when we first when we first opened up, it was obviously May lockdown. Everything was happening via social media. Mm-hmm. We invested quite heavily in influencer marketing, just to really, because we went from 0 to 4,000 followers in 4.5 months. So it was much down to the influencer marketing, and it felt a bit like I was selling out a little bit. But at the same time, it was we were really able to kind of target which demographics and also test demographics to see if they were engaging in our product. And we learned so much from that exercise. We learned that actually we thought our demographic was going to be quite young. But actually our demographic ended up being more 25 to or 30 to 45. So what that kind of told us, and what I've kind of read since then as well, is the more discerning markets are actually the older generation who are actually looking for quality over quantity, and they're also looking for things that have got a provenance, they've got a story, and that have also got quality ingredients in them. But then also that person is slightly more affluent as well, if further on in life. So I think that kind of shifted maybe 5 or 10 years up as our target. So we're really able to kind of stress test our demographic, and has also given us great data that we can then work with working with our suppliers and wholesalers.
Brilliant. Well, which influencer did you use? Have you
I've got a delivery, sorry. Thank you, cheers.
We're going to keep this in. This is good. This is real life.
That's it.
Sorry, I was just saying, what influencers did you use, if you don't mind me asking?
So at the beginning, we kind of went for quite a broad demographic, generally female focused, and just due to the cocktails and the nature of it. But we're trying to turn that around. Especially next year, we're going to be releasing more of a wine range, which we're probably going to rebrand just to become a little bit more of its own identity.
Okay.
Because you don't have basically the cocktail sit next to the wine, so there's no real need for them to be like for like. So next year we're going to try and kind of get a little bit across the board. But we started off with very female focused and lifestyle style influencers, and then we started moving. We found that mothers were very kind of young mums were quite into it, so we kind of focused on that. But then we started when we kind of seen signs that the older generations were getting involved. We started investing in them a little bit more. And what we found with them is that the quality of their content, their engagement with us as a brand, and everything just became a little bit more genuine, because I think there's a lot of kind of sub 25-year-olds who are wanting to be the next Kim Kardashian, and I think we got caught up in a little bit of that. Whereas then we started we cut down the number we were doing, except really focused on those people that were giving genuine content or really had our interests, rather than just trying to who wanted to engage with the brand.
Yeah.
And
rather than just being seen for the sake of being seen.
Exactly. Yeah. And the other people that have been super amazing to us is the foodie people. They've been absolutely incredible. So yeah, we've had a real mixed bag, and it's been a really, really kind of educational experience.
Well, I'm really hopeful that you being on this Food and Drinks Summit is going to open our viewers' eyes up to what you're doing, and maybe even connect you with other like-minded businesses. This is the whole idea behind what we're actually trying to achieve. And I
That's
think
brilliant.
By the sounds of what you've said, there could be a lot of traction out of this, which is amazing. And we're loving this. This is brilliant.
Well, I mean, that's so far in my business journey, I've just been so open to speaking to whoever's open to having a conversation, because I find that even just by you might be having an hour conversation with someone, and you might maybe nothing comes of it, but usually there's either a sentence or a contact or something that you can go, that's a really interesting way of looking at, I'll try that next time. But also as a brand, and I think this is going back into the beer again, but craft beer was so inclusive. It was like you're just going around from brewery to brewery. They're telling you what they do with their dry hopping regime. You're telling them what you do with theirs, how you can take the oxygen out. And everyone's kind of helping each other be better and moving the industry on at a rate of knots and sharing ideas. And that's very much kind of the way I want to operate Sipful, and so we can all kind of move the industry on and kind of work together to being awesome. Yeah,
that's what you just said there a wee minute ago. And to be fair, just listening to a number of our contributors, provenance has been a word that we have used again and again and again. And I think that's not just in in businesses, but people in society are actually, where's this coming from? Who's responsible for it? And I really think that's going to be massive. And probably that age group that you mentioned, 25 to 45, maybe slightly older, are the ones who are most focused on that.
Yeah. I mean, at the moment, we're getting our wine from a co-op in Spain, in La Mancha. But once I start getting the volumes up and also getting that broader range, I'm going to be going straight to the vineyards, hopefully, where I can work with a particular vineyard and secure that production. But I also want to do the same with the fruit for my cocktails as well. Now, that takes a lot more effort because obviously fruit's coming from all over the world, but also sure that there's that ethical part of it is also sorted. Without going on a massive tangent again, but there are kind of blockchain theories of being able to kind of really pin down what is sustainable and pin down where products start from the source. So our hope is to kind of really work with those kind of new technologies that are coming through in order to be able to go right back to that blood orange farm in Sicily, or if it's in Brazil, and make sure that farmer is getting well looked after, that the ecosystem around that farm is getting well looked after, so that we are having a positive contribution on the places that our fruit is produced and our wine is produced, and also trying to then pay back in carbon taxes as well. So whether it is investing in green energy and selling that back to the grid, or whether it is investing in forestry or investing in that country's ecosystems as well. So
absolutely brilliant. I absolutely love your ethical approach. It sounds amazing.
It certainly doesn't. Yeah, well, it is genuine, but it doesn't cut you many favors when you're starting up a business, because you have to go those extra miles, and I mean, we had that. Yeah, we've come across a few things where it's just like, we can't do what we want to do at this stage, but we just have to be patient, and once those volumes increase, then we're able to kind of really start introducing them as we go.
Brilliant. And just a couple of wee things before we finish. Tell me, what help did you get starting your business? Was there any sort of government support or local council, and because this could be a help for someone else who's going to be trying to start a business for our viewers?
Yeah, I got caught up in a lot of these kind of government help schemes, and so basically, you do a lot of work, it seems. And then it kind of always falls off right at the end. And I mean, there's a lot of promises made along the way, and somehow I just kind of need to keep with it, because I think something has to pay off. These schemes are set up in order to be able to help businesses. And in all honesty, COVID, there has been some pieces of help that I've been able to utilize. But it's generally still funded by ourselves, and that's not going to be able to kind of push the business where it needs to go. So, like I was saying, we're looking to really maybe take that step right now to meet the opportunities for next summer.
Brilliant. Okay, so really and truly, you've done the majority of this yourselves.
Yeah, so far, family and friends have. So if it goes, we probably won't have many family and friends if it doesn't go well.
Very admirable so far.
Yeah, bless him.
Lastly, Darius, tell me, what's the future for Cephal? What's your big plans, your big hopes?
I want to make Sipful a nationally recognised brand, and also grow our export as well. However, I don't want export to be us bringing wine into the UK, packaging it and sending it back across again.
Yeah.
We would then create, I'm working on conversations with packagers in Europe as well. So we do that at source for the European market. And likewise for the likes of if we go to the US or if we go to Australia, we'd use wineries out there. We wouldn't just send the Spanish wine just because that's our wine we use. So
yeah.
So I do want to kind of grow the brand both nationally and internationally, but then I've also got a whole range of drinks that we want to be bringing out. But instead of them all being Sipful Drinks, they'll probably be so for example, if we're going into health drinks or energy drinks or functional drinks, then we'd work with people who are already in that sphere, well-known people who are in that sphere, who've got experience of maybe nutrition or the likes. And then we'd work with them on the production, on the kind of market routes to market side, and they would really be the flagship kind of.
Would they be sister brands, or would they be under the Sipful banner?
No, it'd all be sister brands, like so they'd be very much their own entity. I think Sipful's going to be very much just for the wine and the canned wine and the wine-based cocktails. But yeah, and it's all about collaboration, really, and that's where collaboration, drinkability, and also authentic flavors and ingredients.
Absolutely superb. Well, I have to say, I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed that, and I'm sure our viewers will do the same. And please,
it's been a pleasure.
Try Sipful. I will be. I definitely will be. I'll let you know. I'll give you the feedback. So,
lovely. I look forward to it.
I really wish you all the best, and we had amazing food and drink. Wish you all the best in the future. And if we can be any help, just give us a shout.
Many thanks. Appreciate it.